Hello and welcome to a brand new week on Granada Reports.
Hello, there's lots lined up on the programme tonight.
Wrongly accused, the postmaster who spent more than 10 years trying to clear his name after being sentenced for stealing money. Soon he'll tell a public inquiry how it felt being treated like a criminal.
Even if they gave me £100 million and they all walked away from it, that wouldn't work, you know. It's not just about the money, but it's the people that caused this need to be brought to account.
Also wrongly accused, tough questions for the police after they raided a house in Oldham, the wrong house.
History made in the world of rugby league as Wigan unveiled their wheelchair team.
In the weather, we won't be feeling the love this week. It's going to be a busy one with 2 named storms in as many days.
And love is definitely in the air at St Chad's Church in Kirby, where over 60 couples are renewing their wedding vows. It's a great story. Join us later.
So do stay with us. First tonight, it's become known as the Great Post Office Scandal. One of his victims was Scott Darlington, a sub-postmaster from Cheshire. He was wrongly convicted of false accounting and sacked from his job.
The father of one from Bonington spent over a decade battling to clear his name. He's among 700 sub-postmasters who were accused of stealing money due to a flaw in the Post Office's own computer accounting system known as Horizon.
Scott will give evidence this week to a public inquiry to find out just who knew what and why the postmasters were blamed. Our correspondent Mel Barham has tonight's top story.
This is my official apology from the chairman of the Post Office, but it's all a bit late really for an apology.
For more than a decade, Scott Darlington has been wrongly labelled a criminal. The former sub-postmaster at Alderley Edge was given a suspended prison sentence after being charged with false accounting, all because of a glitch in the IT software used by the Post Office.
Just dreadful. I went from doing well to £52.25 a week, income from the dole basically, and it's just about as bad as you could get. I was suffering from depression, anxiety, which I still suffer from now, and staring out the window wondering how am I going to get out of this situation.
It was 2008 when discrepancies started appearing in the accounts. By February the following year, those inconsistencies had risen to £44,000.
We spent till 11 o'clock, midnight at night, poring over anything we could of the system, and we couldn't see anything that would have caused it or anything, any human errors of this magnitude, We were watching each other like a hawk to make sure that either of us didn't make any big errors, and it just grew and grew and grew.
Scott was one of more than 700 sub-postmasters and mistresses who were prosecuted based on information from the IT system called Horizon. Lives were ruined, families torn apart, and reputations utterly destroyed.
Just nightmarish, really, nightmarish. I was in the newspapers. Obviously people around thought I was a bit of a pariah. I was trying to keep my daughter was only 8, so I was trying to keep her in the dark about it really, having to pick her up from school, all the other parents to see me in the papers and stuff like that. I got a bit of online hate, people commenting on it. It was just horrendous really.
Last year, the Court of Appeal quashed those convictions, including Scott's. The public inquiry, which began today, is now the next step for victims, a chance for them to put their suffering on record.
No amount of compensation would be correct if the people that caused this weren't held to account. Even if they gave me £100 million and they all walked away from it, that wouldn't work. It's not just about the money, but it's the people that caused this need to be brought to account.
Scott is due to give evidence at the inquiry later this week. That inquiry is expected to run for the rest of the year.
Well, Mel is with us now. Mel, you really do feel for Scott and those in a similar position. What have the Post Office had to say?
Well, Gamal, it is quite illuminating that the Post Office's own statement actually uses the phrase Horizon scandal to refer to this truly terrible episode. It's worth reminding ourselves that between 2000 and 2014, more than 700 sub-postmasters and mistresses were prosecuted across the country. The Post Office say their priority now is to ensure what they call full, fair and final compensation is provided to those who were wrongly accused of stealing money. They say they've made interim payments of £100,000 to the majority of people whose convictions were overturned, and they're working on final settlements as quickly as possible. Today, they say, whilst it's not appropriate to comment on any individual cases, the Post Office is in no doubt of the human cost of the Horizon scandal, and we're doing all we can to fairly address this for victims. The inquiry's hearings enable many of those who were most deeply affected by the Post Office's past failings to voice their experiences, and their testimonies must and will ensure all lessons are learned so that such events can never happen again.
And Mel, this could be very costly in terms of compensation, couldn't it?
It really could. As a result of mass legal action against the Post Office, a settlement of more than £57 million was made. However, they say more than £46 million of that has already gone to those who funded the legal action and also to lawyers. The Post Office say they've urged the government to do something about this, as they, the Post Office, can't fund any more compensation. So it could be that those people who lost out through being wrongly prosecuted could miss out again.
Yeah, OK, we know that you'll keep across this public inquiry. Mel, for now, thank you.
Next to the terrifying ordeal which left a father of four covered in blood when armed police raided the wrong house in Oldham.
Yes, officers from West Yorkshire Police were searching for a man called Kashif Hussain in connection with a shooting in Bradford.
But they went to the home of Shiraz Hussain instead, who isn't related. He claims he was thrown to the floor and left traumatised.
The family are now demanding an apology. Our reporter Tim Scott has the story.
Late afternoon on a suburban street in Oldham, an armed West Yorkshire police arrive at Shiraz Hussain's house. He opens the door and is pushed to the ground.
The officers that were on the right, they've gripped me and they smacked me on the floor. And then they gave me a few digs, and all I'm saying is, what have I done? There's no need of the force. I'm not resisting.
They actually hit you?
Yeah.
Shiraz, who had no idea what was going on, was handcuffed and led away bleeding as his wife and children sat petrified in the house, surrounded by armed officers. His brother Shazad, who just arrived on the scene, was arrested as well.
I just said to him, "What are you doing? It's my brother's house." They wouldn't answer me, and then 2 minutes later they arrested me. When they arrested me, I was thinking, this can't be happening. Why am I getting arrested for? Then
the pair were taken to Oldham Police Station and held until later that day, then released without charge. West Yorkshire Police had made a mistake. They'd been looking for 43-year-old Kashif Hussain over a firearms offence in Bradford and had gone to the wrong address, arresting the brothers instead.
How would you describe how the police have acted in all this then?
The incompetence. They haven't done their homework properly. They weren't in the professional manner they're supposed to be trained, but the way these lot came, without getting any knowledge from the local authorities, they could have found out who lived here. Basically, they don't know what they're doing.
West Yorkshire Police told us armed police were deployed to an address in Oldham on arrest inquiries for a man wanted in connection with an investigation into a firearms discharge in Bradford who is known to have links to the area. Both men who were present at the address were taken to a police station as part of an identification process. Both were released once it was established neither were the man being sought. No formal complaint has been received from either of the men involved. But now both Shiraz and Shazad are seeking legal advice and say they'll sue West Yorkshire Police for the distress caused to them and their family. Tim Scott, ITV News, Oldham.
Well, next tonight, and police divers have been searching the water around one of the two Runcorn bridges as part of a murder inquiry.
Emergency services were called to the Jubilee Bridge. That's the old Runcorn to Widnes crossing over the River Mersey after reports of someone acting suspiciously.
Our reporter Jennifer Buck is near the scene now. And Jennifer, what more can you tell us?
Well, the investigation started here on Saturday night when the police were called here to what's known as the Old Runcorn Bridge after reports of what was called suspicious behaviour. Now, we understand that a man parked up his car and made some comments that caused concern. Well, we know that today we've seen police divers here on site. They entered the water just next to me here on the south side of the bridge. You could see the divers, the specialist teams going into the water and searching this whole area of water around the bridge. Now, police have told us this evening that they have not found anyone injured or deceased at this site, and they are keeping an open mind into exactly what happened here. Now, we do know that a 43-year-old man was arrested on Saturday night in St Helens on suspicion of murder. He's now been released under investigation. And in the early hours of this morning, a 38-year-old man was arrested in Cheshire, also on suspicion of murder. He's now being interviewed at a police station in Merseyside. So this is still very much an active police investigation, and it's a joint police investigation between Cheshire and Merseyside. And while they're telling us they're keeping an open mind into what happened, what they need is witnesses to come forward. They're asking anybody who was around this area on Saturday night to come and speak to them, particularly those with dash cam footage and any drivers who were going over this bridge between 9:30 and 10 o'clock.
Jennifer in Runcorn, thank you.
In other news today, and the public inquiry into the Manchester Arena bombing has heard that police came across the name, photo and phone number of Salman Abedi years before he carried out the attack. But a retired detective told the hearing the information was not highlighted to an intelligence unit or counter-terror policing as it should have been. Abedi's details came to light during an investigation in 2014 into another Manchester terrorist, Abdul Rauf Abdullah. The inquiry was told the two men were friends and exchanged over 1,000 text messages.
A mother from Lancaster says she's been totally overwhelmed by the response she's had to an appeal to find her son a kidney donor. William Verdon, who's 17, has autism and a rare kidney disease and is being treated at Manchester Children's Hospital. He has dialysis 10 hours a day, 6 hours a week. A judge is to decide later this month whether his treatment should be withdrawn or not.
It chokes me up because I just think maybe there is going to be a chance that he's going to have a chance at a normal life. Honestly, I'm literally stuck for words at the amount of support that we've got and the amount of people that have come forward to say that they want to test to give him a kidney.
Men convicted of historical homosexual offences on the Isle of Man will be pardoned in June. The island celebrated its first ever Pride events last summer, almost 30 years after homosexual acts were decriminalised there. Anyone with an historic conviction will finally be able to have it removed. Well, next this evening to the campaign hoping to get children eating more fruit and veg. That's because more young people in our region are said to be obese now compared to before the pandemic.
It's an age-old issue, isn't it? And the figures show a worrying trend with more children overweight. First, let's look at the school year starting in 2019. Before the pandemic, 11% of reception-aged children in the Northwest were classified as obese, as were 23% of students in Year 6.
Go forward 1 year and those figures have increased to 15% and 26%. That's why ITV is again supporting the Eat Them to Defeat Them campaign to promote more healthier diets.
James Webster's been to visit one school to see how the scheme works.
We're looking at tomatoes today, fruit or vegetable.
Learning to love their vegetables.
We're going to use our sense and we're going to have a feel of some of the tomatoes, OK?
I think I've got a plum tomato because of the shape of it. It's not like the circle shape, it's more thin and longer.
Lots of children have tried them, but not necessarily other variations. So I think giving them that exposure in the right environment can be really, really powerful and encourage them to try lots of different foods.
Today's class is full of new smells and tastes.
This smells like a meat, I don't know why, but it smells like a meat and it's quite sour and bitter.
You have to hold it really close to your nose to smell it.
I predict it would taste kind of like really squashy but really nice. So
it feels wet.
Sessions like this will be taking place all over our region in the coming weeks after research showed how hard it can be to get children eating healthily. More than a third of parents struggle to get their kids to eat vegetables. Only 1 in 5 say their children eat more vegetables than they do. Almost a third say they've been more concerned about their children's diet during the pandemic. And almost 1 in 5 parents said grandparents undermine their efforts to give their children healthy food.
They come from deep underground.
That's why this award-winning campaign, supported by ITV and 8 major retailers, is back on TV screens.
But they can't do it alone. They need your help, kids.
In the last 3 years, it's helped supermarkets sell 1 billion extra portions of vegetables for children.
Eat them to defeat them.
Vegetables provide a wide variety of benefits: the antioxidants, the minerals, the vitamins, the crunch, the kind of the color. Vegetables, when you enjoy them and when you've grown up with them from a young age, they provide us with that excitement as well when it comes to our diet.
Do we think we use tomatoes in a culinary sense as more of a vegetable?
And this year it's hoped activity packs will be given out to 1 million children.
So we'll grab a bit, guys, and we'll smell it to start with.
We've been learning about how you can like something that you don't like the look of. They are really juicy, they feel slimy.
I don't really like any of them, I just didn't really like them.
Not everyone will like all the vegetables, but if more will try them, then this campaign has been a success. James Webster, ITV News.
From the mouths of babes.
I used to hate veggies when I was younger, but now I absolutely love them, especially those tomatoes. Feel those tomatoes. Important.
Making me hungry anyway. Sport now, and Manchester City player has opened up after a terrifying break-in. Mike.
Yeah, that's right. This is the City player João Cancelo, who you might remember fought off intruders in his home over Christmas. Well, he's been speaking to the media today ahead of City's Champions League tie in Lisbon tomorrow. The Portuguese defender posted this image on social media. He'd suffered cuts to his face fighting off 4 burglars at his home close to Manchester. His partner and baby daughter were also in the house at the time.
That's life. It happens in life. It was horrific. It terrorised my whole family. For me, I know how to deal with this, but my family didn't deserve to go through that. However much people try to make me suffer, they won't achieve it. I always like to think positively. That's how I can live my life in the best way possible.
Well, were you two lucky enough to get a Valentine's card this morning? I bet you two got loads. Or is it a day you choose to ignore?
Still waiting for mine. But for dozens of married couples, it's been pretty special as they've chosen to renew their wedding vows en masse in Merseyside.
And in amongst all that wedded bliss at St Chad's Church in Kirby was our very own loved-up Paul Crone.
Yes, good evening. Love is definitely in the air at St Chad's Church in Kirby, where we've got over 60 couples renewing their wedding vows. Here they are. Oh, you can't move for romance. We're going to talk to some of the couples that are here. Everybody here today got married in St Chad's, whether it was last year or 40 years ago. We're going to speak to Roy and Diane Paulson. Good evening.
Good evening.
Oh, very good. So how many years have you been married?
56 years.
56. And how did you meet, Roy?
Well, we met in Kirby Town Centre on the Christmas, around the Christmas tree.
You met round the Christmas tree?
Well, we were singing, we were in the choir.
You're in the choir together. So who made the first move then?
I think I skipped over to Roy.
Oh, did you?
And sang to him.
So how many years have you been married now?
56, 57 this year.
57. And I always ask everybody this, secret of a good marriage?
Give and take.
Because?
Because.
You give and he takes.
Exactly. Yes.
Lovely. Grandchildren?
7. 7 grandchildren.
7.
And one
great-grandson this last year.
And you got married in this very church?
Exactly.
Well, you look like teenagers today.
Thank you so much.
Lovely. Okay, thanks. We move on. Now, the person that's going to do the ceremony today, with literally a mass renewal of vows, is the Reverend Philippa Lee. That's a lot to do in one evening.
Yeah, I've only ever done one at a time before, so this is a new experience for me as well.
What does it mean to you?
I just think it's amazing, this church that holds so much history and holds so many special memories for people, can be part of them celebrating their marriages again, however many years later.
And how important is it that people renew their vows? Because we should just always be in love, shouldn't we?
Well, marriage isn't always quite that straightforward.
Yeah,
and
we know that. Well said, yeah. If you hadn't said it, I would, yeah.
Sometimes people get to significant milestones, or they just want to celebrate that they've been together a certain amount of time. Sometimes people want to renew their vows after a difficult time as a sign of being reunited again. So there's lots of different reasons.
Is everybody here happy? Yes. OK, well, we're on to our final couple. We've got Gordon and Debbie. Thank you so much. How many years have you been married?
38.
38 in April.
38.
In April.
So go on, tell us how you met.
We met over the road in the post office. I worked there and Debbie used to bring the mail in.
And you were too shy to ask Debbie out?
I was too shy. I was only 19 at the time, so I was very shy. So my colleagues in work actually put a card in the bag, the mail that she brought in, on Valentine's Day, and that's how we
What
met.
happened? What happened then? You went back?
So I went back in the evening to take the mail back over, and I told Gordon that there was a card in the mailbag for him.
Did you know by that stage that he was sweet on you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
And so how many years?
38 in April.
38.
Yeah.
Her worst habit? His worst habit? What's Gordon's worst habit?
He sits picking his thumb while we're watching telly.
Right, so if that's the worst thing you do, it's not too bad.
Get away with that.
So can you just both tell each other you love each other and then we're done?
I love you.
We love you.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, can we have a round of applause? So there we all go. What a lovely moment. Who cannot be moved by that? As we said at the start, love very much definitely in the air.
It absolutely is. On the subject of love, there's an utterly beautiful story on our website of two orphaned otters.
Yes, the good news is they'll be spending Valentine's night together after finding love at a rescue centre in Cheshire. So head over to itv.com/Granada for that one. Now, is there anything to love about the weather at the moment? I don't think so, except Emma, of course. She has all the details.
Now that is brew weather.
And only boiling what she needs.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Big up you, sis.
Hello there, very good evening to you. Hope you've had a good day. We did have some sunshine this afternoon after the earlier rain, but I'm afraid we're going to have our work cut out for the rest of the week. The Met Office has named two storms which will come through in quick succession. We have Storm Dudley first of all late Wednesday into Thursday, and Storm Eunice on Friday. Dudley is all about the strong winds. Eunice is all about sleet and snow. First of all, let's focus on the winds. There's an amber warning in force for this period with gusts of 80 miles an hour expected, mainly for parts of Cumbria, Lancashire and the Lancashire coast. But there is a yellow wind warning in force from 3 o'clock Wednesday till 6 p.m. Thursday. Widespread gusts of 60 to 70 miles an hour expected. That's all down to the jet stream. Of course, it is really active jet stream at the moment. And you can see that this little low comes through ahead of Dudley initially. We're on the southern flank of that, so a real squeeze on the isobars. We get those strong winds, and then Eunice comes through on Friday around about midday, dragging colder air in from the southwest to the northeast, and that's why we're expecting some wintry showers on that. But just rewinding to the next few hours, skies mostly clear during the course of this evening. The lowest temperatures occurring now, and then they start to lift as this new system moves in through the early hours of the morning, bringing more cloud in and some rain. The wind eases a little bit this evening as well. Temperatures hold up well overnight. Sun's up tomorrow at 7:31, and then that rather unpleasant system continues its journey eastwards with gusts of 35 miles an hour on that, easing to gusts of 30 behind it as there is some clearance and the sun comes out. It's going to be quite a pleasant, bright, sunny Tuesday afternoon with temperatures around average for the time of year. Then don't forget the windiest period is going to be late on Wednesday overnight into Thursday. Should be brighter Thursday afternoon before that system on Friday. Bye-bye.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
2 sugars, please. Oh, lovely.
Emma, thank you very much. So did Mr. Elaine get you a nice prizzy?
Well, I'm on the late news, so it's just enough time for him to go and buy me a card when I get home.
Plenty of time, plenty of time. I've got to sort my present out in a bit. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.